Have you ever met someone and within minutes, the conversation just flowed naturally? No awkwardness, no forcing it, no pretending. You simply clicked. And then there are other conversations where every sentence feels heavy, forced, exhausting. Strange, isn't it? Hello, and welcome back to Bookworm. Today, we're diving into The Laws of Connection, a book that explores something deeply human. Why do some people instantly feel emotionally safe? Because connection isn't random, it's psychological. Small behaviors, attention, curiosity, emotional signals all shape how close people feel to each other. And most of it happens without awareness. This book explains why some people naturally pull others in, while others struggle to build meaningful connection even when they try hard. Stay with me as we dive deeper, because once you understand this, you'll start seeing conversations very differently. And if you enjoy this kind of content, don't forget to like and subscribe.
Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. For the longest time, we've treated human connection like it's some sort of mysterious alchemy, right? You either have chemistry with someone or you just don't. You either get lucky and stumble into your tribe, or you're kind of doomed to navigate the world all alone. But what if I told you that connection isn't just magic, and it certainly isn't just luck? What if it's actually a deeply learnable skill, one that is firmly rooted in cutting-edge neuroscience and social psychology? Today, we are going to completely demystify the exact psychological patterns, the specific behaviors, and the communication styles that truly shape our relationships. We're going to discover how genuine trust and closeness aren't just happy accidents, but the direct result of specific emotional tools that you can literally start using today.
Here is our roadmap for today. We'll be covering the modern loneliness paradox, building a shared reality, overcoming the liking gap, the art of conversation, and finally, maintaining closeness and trust. Let's get right to it.
Section 1. The Modern Loneliness Paradox.
This beautiful sentiment from Helen Keller perfectly anchors the profound emotional difference between existential isolation and the truly liberating power of a real friend. Think about Keller's early years, before she even learned to communicate. She described her deaf-blindness as a kind of total captivity. She was essentially a prisoner inside her own mind. But then, when Anne Sullivan taught her how to communicate, Keller felt what she beautifully described as invisible lines stretched between my spirit and the spirits of others. That craving for those invisible lines? That is a deeply universal human experience. We all need those lines.
But here is where things get genuinely alarming. Research shows that around 50 to 60% of U.S. citizens report feeling socially disconnected at regular intervals. Just let that sink in for a second. That is more than half the population. It proves that a lack of connection isn't just a personal failing, it is a massive modern epidemic. And it's not just about feeling a bit sad on a Friday night. From a purely evolutionary perspective, our primitive brains interpret social isolation as a literal, physical threat to our survival. Chronic loneliness actually suppresses your immune system, it drastically increases inflammation in the body, and it significantly raises the risk of serious illness and early death. It's a biological big deal.
So to cure this epidemic, we are turning to the science. Specifically, we're looking at David Robson's phenomenal framework, which synthesizes hundreds of rigorous academic studies into 13 highly actionable laws of social connection. What Robson proves is that loneliness usually isn't just a lack of social opportunities or being stuck at home, it's the profound absence of a close emotional bond. By understanding and applying these laws, you can quite literally transform your life, your creative output, and your physical health.
Section 2. Building a shared reality.
Okay, it all starts with understanding what is actually happening inside our brains when we finally click with someone. The absolutely crucial point here is that true connection comes from forging what psychologists call a shared reality. Now, this isn't just politely nodding along to the same opinions or laughing at the same joke. This is a profound psychological state where your neural activity actually begins to synchronize with someone else's. It's like a Wi-Fi connection between two brains. When a shared reality is established, your interactions flow so much more smoothly. You feel a massive spike in mutual trust, and your stress levels absolutely plummet. It's that magical, almost effortless feeling where two minds just seem to meld into one.
But how do we actually build this shared reality? Well, first, you have to realize that our typical predictions of who we will or will not get along with are almost always severely misguided. We tend to think, oh, we both like the same obscure 90s indie bands, so we're going to be best friends. Actually, scratch that. That's entirely superficial. To build a true shared reality, you must focus on and validate their deeper internal thoughts and emotions. When you bypass the small talk, focus heavily on their internal world and discover the peculiar, specific ways your feelings coincide. You experience what researchers call self-expansion. It's this incredible sense that simply knowing this person is stretching you, challenging you, and helping you grow into a better version of yourself.
Section 3. Overcoming the liking gap.
Now, what's really fascinating, and frankly a little bit tragic, is how our own brains accidentally sabotage these shared realities through built-in psychological barriers. We literally talk ourselves out of making friends. Psychologists Erica Boothby and Gus Cooney discovered something they call the liking gap. It is that nagging, hypercritical voice in your head that completely convinces you that you made a terrible impression when you absolutely didn't. You know the exact feeling I'm talking about, right? Agonizing over a perfectly normal text message for 20 minutes, absolutely terrified you used the wrong emoji, or replaying a conversation in the shower thinking about how awkward you sounded. They noticed that after perfectly pleasant, flowing conversations, people consistently doubt themselves, completely losing faith in the shared reality they just built.
In their experiments where participants had standard ice-breaking conversations, almost everyone was wildly, overly pessimistic about how they came across. You might walk away thinking the other person is harshly judging you for a slightly clumsy comment or a brief, awkward pause. But the science definitively proves that, on average, they actually liked you a lot. They thought you were great, and they would be very keen to meet up again. But because of this insidious liking gap, we enthusiastically exchange numbers at a party, and then we just never text them, utterly convinced the other person wouldn't want to hear from us. We're rejecting ourselves before they even get a chance to.
Compounding this whole issue is another massive psychological barrier called the illusion of transparency. This basically means we unfairly judge others for not reading our minds, when in reality, we just haven't communicated our feelings anywhere near clearly enough. We walk around expecting our partners or our close friends to just magically know when we are upset or stressed out, and then when they don't immediately offer the exact perfect type of support, we feel deeply alienated and hurt. We really have to check our egocentric assumptions here. Don't just assume your internal feelings are plain for everyone to see. They aren't. You have to proactively vocalize them.
Section 4. The art of conversation. Let's shift gears to the highly practical side of things, the daily conversations we have. Small, seemingly minor conversational behaviors heavily influence our emotional connection. So how do we actively show we care? Well, active attention has distinct rules. The 19th century essayist William Hazlitt coined what we now call Hazlitt's Law, which states, "The art of conversation is the art of hearing as well as of being heard." People can instantly tell when you are faking it with just a polite, mindless nod while your brain is deciding what to have for dinner. True connection requires you to verbalize your interest. You literally need to paraphrase what they just said to prove they're in the conversational spotlight. And please, I beg you, put your digital devices completely out of your eye line. Even having a phone sitting face down on the table severely reduces the emotional depth and trust of a chat. It's an absolute connection killer.
Now, if you want to go deeper than superficial small talk about the weather or traffic, science heavily recommends mutual self-disclosure. This concept was famously demonstrated in Arthur Aaron's Fast Friends procedure. The study showed that by mutually agreeing to answer 36 increasingly personal questions, two complete strangers can rapidly escalate their intimacy and self-expansion. Now, to be clear, the lesson here isn't to rigidly interrogate people at a dinner party with a printed list of 36 questions. Don't do that. The real takeaway is to be generous with your own deeper thoughts and, crucially, create a warm, safe space for the other person to share theirs. Vulnerability breeds vulnerability.
But a quick warning, when you do start opening up, you have to beware of what researchers call the novelty penalty. This is fascinating. People actually genuinely struggle to process entirely unfamiliar information in conversation. If you start excitedly rambling on about a super niche, incredibly complex story from a solo vacation you took, your conversation partner might just feel totally lost and alienated. They have nothing to anchor to. To fix this, you always have to bridge your novel story back to something familiar to them. For example, if they are a massive foodie, frame your wild vacation story around the incredible, bizarre local meals you had. You have to give them a familiar, comfortable entry point into your world.
Section 5. Maintaining closeness and trust.
For our final chapter today, let's explore how to actually maintain these deep bonds over the long term. Because let's face it, conflicts, deep insecurities, and bad feelings are completely natural and are going to arise in absolutely any relationship. A massive, often overlooked secret to relationship maintenance is specific praise.
We very often hold back our gratitude because we vastly underestimate how much joy it will bring the other person, a phenomenon known as the gratitude gap. But consistent vocal appreciation acts as a powerful social glue. However, to do it right, you have to avoid vague, lazy platitudes. Don't just look at someone and say, "Hey, you're great." It means nothing. Instead, highlight a unique, highly specific quality or a tiny action you've noticed them do that no one else seems to see. Doing this proves beyond a shadow of a doubt that you are paying deep, careful attention to their internal world. And what about when it's your turn to shine? We often get really weird about this. We fear that sharing our big successes will trigger malicious envy in our friends. So what do? We try to soften the blow with a classic humble brag. But the science clearly shows that humble brags completely backfire. They only breed more resentment and make you look insincere. Instead, the healthiest, most connection-building approach is to openly and accurately share your genuine successes without ever comparing yourself to others. When you do this authentically, it invites something wonderful called confelicity, which is the beautiful, pure experience of finding shared joy in each other's achievements. Now, what if the roles are reversed and you desperately need help? Our everyday intuitions here are almost always completely backwards. We are terrified that asking for help makes us look incredibly needy, burdensome, or incompetent. But asking for a favor actually builds tremendous rapport. It's a psychological quirk known as the Benjamin Franklin effect. When you ask someone for a favor, it powerfully signals that you deeply trust and respect them. It makes them feel uniquely valued. And counterintuitively, doing a favor for you actually increases your standing in their eyes. It proves you view them as a crucial part of your support system.
Of course, sometimes your friends are just hurting. If a close friend is going through a really tough time, the absolute best approach is what psychologists call autonomy supportive communication. You do not need to swoop in and fix their problems. In fact, don't try to. Simply notice their emotion, strongly validate their feelings by saying something direct like, "I see you're hurting, and I'm here for you whenever you are ready." And then respectfully offer them the flexibility and the physical space they need. Don't force the heavy conversation before they are truly ready to have it. And when sharp disagreements inevitably happen, because they 100% will, you don't have to just retreat into a safe echo chamber and ignore them. Instead, apply the Montague principle. This is named after Lady Mary Wortley Montague, who brilliantly advised that civility costs nothing and buys everything. Remain fundamentally civil, be intensely, genuinely curious about how they arrived at their viewpoint, and crucially, instead of bombarding them with dry, aggressive statistics to prove you're right, share personal anecdotes. Personal stories naturally lower people's psychological defenses and help keep your shared reality intact, even when your core opinions wildly clash. All of this incredible psychology we've covered today, the neuroscience behind shared reality, the intricate conversational tools, the ways to handle conflict, it all ultimately culminates in Robson's 13th law. And it's a simple one. Do not let physical distance create social isolation. Incredible research by Peggy Liu shows that we vastly underestimate how much an old friend will appreciate receiving a random message from us. A simple text, a quick email, or a 5-minute phone call to someone you've slowly lost touch with can instantly reignite those invisible lines of connection we talked about at the very beginning.
So, I want to leave you with this final, genuinely provocative challenge. Understanding the deep psychology of human connection is only half the battle, right? The rest is taking action. Who is a lost friend or an ambivalent connection you can reach out to today? Whose life are you going to brighten right now by simply sending a quick message, actively pushing past that lying liking gap in your head, and choosing to build a profound shared reality? Think about it for a second. Get a name in your head. And then, as soon as we're done here, go make that connection. You have the tools now.
If there's one idea to take from this book, it's this. Connection is rarely accidental. The laws of connection shows that people feel close through emotional experience, not just words. Feeling heard, feeling understood, feeling emotionally safe, that's what creates trust. And in a world filled with constant distraction, real attention becomes incredibly powerful because most people aren't truly listening. They're waiting to speak. But when someone genuinely listens, people feel it immediately. And that feeling creates connection faster than most realize. Once you understand this, relationships change, conversations change, you stop trying to impress people and start understanding them. And ironically, that's what makes people feel closest to you. If this made you rethink human connection, like the video, subscribe to Bookworm and stay aware. Because sometimes the deepest connections begin with simply feeling understood.